Never forgive the betrayals that weaken your soul, not because you must live in bitterness, but because you must remember what it means to stand unbroken in a world that constantly tests your strength. This is not a call to hatred, but a call to awareness, a refusal to let the poison of weakness disguise itself as virtue, because the greatest betrayal is not what others do to you, but what you allow within yourself to decay. And so, the first betrayal you must never forgive is the betrayal of your own potential. That quiet moment when you know you are capable of more, yet choose less. When you silence your ambition to fit into the comfort of mediocrity. When you betray the very force within you that seeks to rise, to create, to dominate your own destiny. And in doing so, you commit a crime against your own becoming. The second betrayal is cowardice. The subtle surrender that creeps in when truth demands courage, and you instead choose safety. When you see clearly what must be done, yet hesitate. When fear becomes your master, and you bow to it willingly. For cowardice is not merely fear, it is the acceptance of fear as authority, and to forgive it is to invite it again and again into your life until it shapes you into something lesser than you were meant to be. The third betrayal is the betrayal of truth, perhaps the most dangerous of all, because it often wears the mask of comfort. When you lie to yourself to avoid pain, when you distort reality to protect your ego, when you choose illusion over clarity, because truth is sharp and unforgiving, yet it is the only ground upon which strength can be built. And to forgive your own dishonesty is to live in a house of illusions that will inevitably collapse. The fourth betrayal is the betrayal of your values. When you abandon what you claim to stand for in exchange for approval, when you bend your principles to avoid conflict, when you trade authenticity for acceptance, because every time you do this, you fracture your identity. You become divided within yourself, and a divided soul cannot stand firmly in the face of adversity. It wavers, it doubts, it crumbles. The fifth betrayal is dependence, not the natural interconnection between humans, but the surrender of your autonomy, when you rely on others to define your worth. When you seek validation instead of cultivating inner authority. When you become incapable of standing alone. Because true strength is not isolation, but self-sufficiency. The ability to exist and act without needing constant reassurance. And to forgive your own dependence is to remain chained to the opinions and presence of others. The sixth betrayal is the betrayal of loyalty, both given and received. When trust is broken, it reveals a fundamental weakness of character, whether in yourself or others. Because loyalty is not a trivial virtue, it is the foundation of meaningful connection. And to forgive betrayal too easily is to declare that your trust has no value. When you choose stagnation over transformation, because growth requires destruction, the breaking of old forms to make way for new ones, and to forgive your resistance is to remain trapped in a version of yourself that is already outdated. The 10th and final betrayal is the betrayal of your will, the failure to act when action is required, when you know the path before you, yet refuse to walk it, when you delay, hesitate, and ultimately abandon your intentions. Because willpower is the engine of all achievement. It is what turns thought into reality, and to forgive your own inaction is to ensure that your life remains a collection of unrealized possibilities. These betrayals are not to be forgiven lightly, not because forgiveness is inherently wrong, but because forgetting is dangerous. Because to forget is to repeat, and to repeat is to descend further into weakness. Instead, you must remember, you must confront these betrayals within yourself and others. You must use them as fuel, as lessons carved into your memory that shape your future actions. Because the goal is not to become cold or bitter, but to become strong, to become aware, to become someone who does not easily fall into the same traps. Someone who recognizes weakness and refuses to nurture it. Someone who understands that pain and betrayal are not the end, but the beginning of transformation. Because in every betrayal there is a revelation, a moment where you see clearly what must change, what must be strengthened, what must be abandoned. And it is in these moments that you have a choice: to forgive and forget and remain the same, or to remember and evolve and become something greater. And this is the essence of the philosophy that demands not blind forgiveness, but conscious recognition, not endless resentment, but purposeful growth. Because the highest form of existence is not one free from betrayal, but one that rises above it, that uses it, that transforms it into power. And so you must stand firm. You must refuse to betray yourself in these ways. You must cultivate a spirit that is resilient, disciplined, and unyielding. A spirit that does not collapse under pressure, but hardens, sharpens, and becomes more defined. Because, ultimately, the world will test you. People will disappoint you. Circumstances will challenge you. But none of these are as significant as the battle within yourself, the constant tension between who you are and who you could become. And it is in this battle that these betrayals take place. It is here that you either rise or fall. And so the command is not merely to never forgive, but to never ignore, to never become complacent, to never allow these betrayals to pass unnoticed, because awareness is the first step toward mastery, and mastery is the path to becoming who you truly are, a being defined not by weakness or avoidance, but by strength, clarity, and an unwavering commitment to your own highest potential.